Hello everyone, welcome back to the lesson 11 in the beginner series of learning iOS development. In this lesson we are going to learn about deinit methods, which are called just before the deallocation takes place. So deallocation is the process of freeing up all the resources that are used for an instance of a class. It is applicable only to classes and not to structs and enums. And also deinit method of a subclass is always called before the deinit method of a superclass, even if it's not mentioned inside the subclass. And it is normally done, the deallocation is done using ARC, automatic referencing counter, but we can also basically free up some of the custom resources using deinit method. And now we are creating a class with the name player and creating some of its static variables like score and functions like update score and deduct score. And afterwards we will be creating a deinit method to call the deinitialization process on this class and see how it works. And after that I am creating a deinit method. Here I'll be creating another variable with the name current score, which will be then added to my static function update score and deduct score. And in deinit method we are going to add this value to my score. And after that I am going to show you how you can basically call a deinit method by making the instance of the player set to nil. So follow all of these steps. Here you can see that we have encountered an error on line number 241, which basically shows that the current score and score class name dot should be added because the function deinit is not a static method. After that we have created an instance of a player and also adding another function to our class player with the name of print score, which will print the score on our console. Here I am calling the print score function on the instance player, and as you can see that it is again giving me the error because score is a static variable. So here I have added player.score. After that you can see that the statement is printed player has scored this much, which is 20. After that you can see that I am calling the update score function. It can only be called on the class because it's a static function. We cannot call it on an instance. And after that we have again printed the score, and the score is 20. Score is not changed because these functions are updated the current score and not the score variable. After that I will be basically setting my player instance to nil. I cannot set class to nil but an instance to nil. So here I'll be using the instance is equals to nil. So it is going to give me an error. This is because the instance is not allowed to have an optional. So we need to basically set let to var, and after that we need to initialize it with the type player question mark. Here you can see that we have mentioned the player instance as player question mark, which makes it optional, and two other errors appear. This is due to the reason that we need to either call player with a question mark or an exclamation mark. Remember that exclamation mark is only provided when you are sure that the instance cannot be nil. If it is going to be nil, the program is going to crash here. And here you can see that now the player has scored this much, 30. So it is updated. This is due to the reason that the deinit method is called when we have set the instance to nil. This is done behind curtains. Every time when we do not need an instance, normally the view goes into the background or something like that. We do not need it in future. The resources are freed by automatic referencing counter, and the deinitialization is done automatically. But if we want to take control of it and add some further functionality like closing a file or any other custom resources that we want to free, we need to add deinitializer. After that we are moving to another important topic, which is error handling in Swift. So error handling is also known as exceptional handling in Swift. We will be doing it using 4 methods. I'm going to show you the 4 ways to handle errors. You can use any one of it if you want to basically tackle the errors that can be encountered inside a code. First one is the propagation of the error to the column. Second is using do, try, catch statements. Third is handling the optional value. And fourth is asserting the error so that it will not occur. So let's discuss the first option. Here we are going to write a function that is going to throw error, but before that we will be initializing an enum that will give us all the errors that we can encounter. So suppose we have an enum for file reading errors. So what sort of errors can occur? We need to basically add those. For example, the first case is not found, another case is not properly encoded or something like that. The third one is basically the file is too long, and the last one is basically you do not have any permission. So you can set as many cases as you want depending upon your situations. Normally enums are basically used to display the errors, and it extends the type error, which is a default keyword. After that we are going to write a function can throw errors, rounded brackets, throws, and then we can define the output of that function, the return type. So it throws file reading errors dot not found. It is going to throw an error from the enum. And how to call it? Basically we are going to write the function name, and after that we are going to write try. So try is a must when you are calling a function that is throwing some errors. So here I am initializing a class to further explain the different concepts. So I am writing a class with the name file reading. After that I have created a variable with the name of file name. So here we are writing a function read file that will throw some errors. Here I have passed a parameter with the name string. After that I'm writing a guard statement. So guard let file is equals to basically here we are going to basically write the mechanism to read a file, but I'm just stating here the file name or the name variable. After that we are writing an else that is going to throw some errors. So here you can see that conditional binding must have optional type, not string. So we have made the string type as optional. Okay, so the error is gone, but we need to add here the name of the file. So here I will be adding the name and making the argument as an optional by adding a question mark to string. So this is how we are going to handle each of the error by writing different guard statements and throwing certain errors. So here I am writing another guard statement where I am basically checking the length of the file. So here you can read the content and guard let file.count. We need to remove here let because we are not passing file.count into a variable. So this is just a conditional, so we do not need to add let here. So we are going to write guard. You can see here that file, the variable we have created on the top on line number 28 accessible here. After that we are going to write else and throw a certain error. After that you can simply do whatever you want to do, since you are going to reach on line number 36 if no error is thrown. So once you need to call this function, you are going to use the try keyword that I have already shown you. So when you are going to write try read file and pass it a certain parameter, that is basically called the propagation of error to the caller. So here I am writing another function read file again, and here I will be showing you how you can write a do catch to handle the errors. We do not need to throw anything from this function, so I'll be removing here the throw keyword. But before that I'm going to write some of the do try catch. So here you can see that I am catching the error of not found and printing something here. And in do try let file is equals to something is basically the place where we will be doing the file manipulation using a function that throws. So here I have handled two of the errors, file too long and not found, and I have printed certain statements to indicate these errors. So here I will be changing this line let file is equals to try name, and you can basically here call try the call to a function. So here I can call basically read file with the name that is being passed to read file again. So this is how you can basically write a try. So you can see here it is saying that the catch is not exhaustive, so we need to add a catch with no error type so that it will handle all the remaining errors. So we are going to print here that some other errors are occurred or not handled here. Okay, you can write any print statement here. or you need to write a catch for all of the 4 type of errors that we have created. After that, you can see that I have changed line number 43. I have added try and removed the let file is equals to here. After that, you can open the file and do manipulation. So it is not throwing an error but printing all of the errors depending upon the situation. So on line number 43 and 44, you can see that I have called a function that throws error, so the error propagation works there. And after that, we have added the do catch to handle errors. Now the third option is using optionals. So I am going to copy these functions from line number 18 and a call to that function from line number 22 and paste it here to show you how optionals work. So here I have called the try call to the throw error function with a let x is equals to try question mark. So that means that the call return is basically an optional. So it has set let x is equals to try this. After that, I'm writing another way that you can write this function using do catch. So this is how you can pass the value in an optional, and then you can check the value and do a certain action depending upon it. So here there is another point to basically notice is we can use try exclamation mark if you're sure that there will be no runtime error. So in certain situations we are sure that no error will occur, we are going to use try exclamation mark. So here I'm replacing it here. But when I'm going to play the code, it is going to give me an error because can throw error is throwing an error. So we are going to use it very wisely and very rarely. So after that, I've replaced it with question mark. Also, it stops the error propagation because it means that it has handled error. Now we can move forward with whatever logic we want to implement. After that, the fourth option is basically do not allow the error to occur. So whatever the situations, we are going to handle it inside the code. So another thing we can use is basically we do all of the cleanup actions and all of the issues that we faced in the defer statements. So defer is already discussed in my previous video, you can check it there as well. So here I am basically talking about it in the context of throwing an error. So here I'll be writing a function that is going to read a file and it is going to close the file in the defer statement. So the defer is basically a block of code that will be executed at the end of this current block of code. So the execution will move towards the end no matter where you have written the defer curly brackets and the code inside it. So in the if statement, you can either check a file exists or whatever you want to check about a certain file. I have set it name.count is greater than 0 to avoid all the errors and warnings. And defer is basically going to be executed at the end of this function if the error does not occur, but basically defer is used here to avoid all of these errors. So here we will be reading the file and here the file will be closed according to the defer statement on line number 96 because it executes in that manner. So whatever we want to do with the file, we are going to do it in the defer statements is basically the statements that are going to protect us from all of this. So here I am adding the line read file where I'll be calling this function, and after that we are going to add the keyword try. So this is all for this tutorial. I hope you have learned something from it. Next we are going to move to concurrency. So do not forget to like and share this video and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned and thanks for watching.